everyone, welcome back to another episode of Journey to Purpose. With me today, I have the fabulous and wonderful Gene Campbell. He is the founder of the True Patriot Outfitters. Gene, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Pippa. Appreciate it. This is quite the honor.
Honor for me. First really easy question though is where in the world are you?
I reside in the state of Colorado in the United States, in the metro area, a little town called Broomfield. That's on the north metro side of the Denver metro area here. So just on the outside of insanity is where we reside.
I hope there's a sign outside your house going just on the outside of insanity, because if there's not, there should be one now.
That's right. Insane folk that way, not this way.
No one would believe it. It's true. Do you know what? I've never been to Colorado yet. It's on my list. It's meant to be a beautiful state. So one day I will make it over.
It is. I had the privilege of coming out here in 1990 and seeing it before it got overpopulated. That's probably our biggest issue is people think Colorado and immediately conjure images of ski slopes and mountains, and that's our state. The truth be told, we're a highland desert. That's one portion of our state is those mountains. The rest is flat land where you can find the residing address of Wile E. Coyote, because that's pretty much all we have out here is just flatland desert on the eastern side. So the population of Colorado jams in what we call the I-25 Beltline from like Fort Collins to Colorado Springs. And there's enough people there, to populate 3 states that have jammed into this section now. It started back in the 80s I'm a transplant native here. I've been here long enough that I can call myself a transplant native. We call it the Californication of Colorado as folks were able to sell at a tremendous price, come here for half the cost and buy a home. And now, effectively, after 30 years, turns out 35 years of doing that, guess what? Our prices aren't too far off pace from California now.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, we're Eastern California somewhat.
Well, at least you got in there early. Do you know what? I was before we chatted, I was saying how I've just had the flu. And I did discover that I could watch the Wile E. Coyote cartoons on YouTube while I was lying in bed feeling sorry for myself. So I've just been watching that and Roadrunner, Bugs Bunny, all of it, just reliving my childhood. I was like, I just need something simple. It was great.
The legend stuff. Yeah, that was some brilliant cartooning back in those days.
They don't make it like they used to.
No, they do not. Sponge who? I'm sorry. He can't touch Bugs and Daffy and those guys.
He cannot. Absolutely cannot. That's where it was at. So now we've discovered what cartoons we like. The important question though, Gene, is about you. So tell me about the True Patriot Outfitters, but also what led you to open up this foundation that you now run?
Yeah. So the shortened version of what got me here was a decision that I made, and having a support in place that not many people could have. I chose to try to go make a living chasing fish around the country. As a competitive bass angler. Spoiler alert, there is no career to be had doing that these days.
I'm kind of disappointed to hear that, but never mind.
No more than I, trust me. The fastest way to get to a millionaire status in competitive fishing is start off as a billionaire. And you'll make it to millionaire status faster than you realize. Yeah, no, I started doing that. To do that, I had to give up several things in my life. Number one was I'm a former first responder, volunteer with the Larimer County Dive Rescue Team. And I had to give that up because of a move. And then I had to give up coaching youth athletics. I've coached for almost 20 years. I coached from 4th grade all the way to being the last half of my career was a paid coach at a high school. And I had to give that up too in order to chase this dream. And so I did. I made a selfish decision to do that because I had a chance to do it. Well, it left a hole. And about a year into it, 2 years into it, that hole was just too big inside in my head. And so I had to start doing something. So I started volunteering with different nonprofit groups. One of the organizations I had a chance to work with was the Warrior Bonfire Program. And with that program, I got the opportunity to go spend like a week with 6 Purple Heart recipient combat wounded vets. The request was bring my boat and my gear and everything in and just share my passion for bass fishing with them on this private pond at a private lodge. And I said, wow, What an awesome deal. So I gave up the opportunity to compete in the last event of the year to go do that instead. And Pippi, it changed my life. I realized then and there, after completing that and being allowed to share space with these amazing human beings, that me just sharing my passion, seeing what it could do for them, what joy it brought them, what peace it brought them. And to me, there was almost a guilt factor because it's like, this is what I love to do. This is not work to me. This is at the core of who Gene is. People know Gene Fish, right? I mean, that's just, it goes hand in hand, through and through. But I realized, and so I started doing some research into this sector and what led me down the rabbit hole into recreational therapy and understanding what that impact was and how that was structured. And I saw a bunch of studies done by Heroes on the Water with some scientific back, medical studies that was being worked in the mental health space with those guys. And it really opened up my eyes. And so, yeah, it wasn't short thereafter that GC Fishing LLC shut its doors and the True Patriot Outfitters 501c3 nonprofit opened its doors. I have an amazing support structure. By support structure, I mean I have a very smart, successful, way smarter than me wife. I'm not sure she has a questionable choice of husband. I'll give her that. But at the end of the day, the statement she gave me when we were deciding, should we try this? She said, I'll take care of the actual bank. You go take care of our karma bank. And I said, yes, ma'am, mission accepted. And I'm out the door. So off I went. And so we have just completed our third full year. We're into year 4 now with the nonprofit. It's harder work than I've ever experienced in my entire life. My brain never shuts off from it. And I love it. It's a purpose. My wife told me this last year when I was having some doubts about future. Her statement to me was, you are doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. And coming from her, whether I was married to her or not, she is hands down probably one of the top 3, maybe the top most intelligent people I've ever encountered. So I trust in her words and I really hang on her input, probably more than she realizes most of the time. But so when she told me that, Pippa, man, it just impacted. It hit me heavy. And it really, picked me up by the bootstraps and made me get back to work again. It's like, look, this is where I'm supposed to be. So it's time to go. And let's get this thing rolling. I think what's ironic, by the way, when I interviewed you on my podcast, your cats were going, my cat is now right beneath my seat and she's meowing.
That's
so
karma,
this is
isn't it?
fantastic. Yeah. She's like, oh yeah, I got one for you.
Yeah. Do you think your cat's make a noise? Check out. Actually, I can't hear her in fairness. So
this is a sure mic. It does real good on cutting out, background noise. So yeah. No, so that's really what led me to it. It was a choice that I did feel a calling, if you will. My wife opened up my eyes to something. I was married with my children's mother and together for 17 years. That did not work. Moved on, and I was prepared to get my kids through school, and then my butt was moving south. I was heading to Missouri, Arkansas. I was going to fish 12 months out of the year. That's what I was going to do, right? And I was going to be a single dude, and that's how we were going to run this thing up. And then I reconnected with my wife. She and I dated for 2 years when we were like 18, 19.
Aww.
And we split on good terms. She was kind of ready to start settling down. And I'm like, I still got the maturity of a 13-year-old. No, I am not settling down. So we kind of went our ways. And she went and had 2 kids, got married. I went and had 2 kids, got married. And like 26 years later, we crossed again. And she opened up my eyes to something, is that when you know, you'll know. I used to think that was a Disney, BS line, to be honest with you. I was like, I don't buy that crap, whatever. That's something people tell themselves to convince themselves of something, and no, it's real. When you know, your entire body, starting with your heart and your gut, it tells you. If you just stop for a second and listen, it's like, yep. That's what's supposed to be going on right now. And when I realized that with her, that kind of is what happened with this. My work with the True Patriot Outfitters. It's not easy. Make no mistake. Every day I'm sitting here, looking for my next flugel binder. It's like, what could I do to make a little money on the side and, do something over here and, supplement the income. So I'm not a 53-year-old neck beard in my wife's house, living off of her success, type thing.
Oh,
But yeah, so we have that battle inside our, our head. By our we, I mean me, and I dance with that. But other than that, I know we're doing the kind of work we should be doing with the TPO.
mm. So I think firstly, big shout out to your wife for
Yeah.
sounding absolutely awesome. Clearly she is.
Yep.
Well done for marrying her. Sounds like it was a really good choice.
Yeah, exactly. I'm the smart one in this thing. I'll tell you. She's the one with questionable judgment.
But all that aside, I think when you're working in the nonprofit area, and I think things you said are really important to highlight, is like it's not easy. People
Hmm.
think that charity work, nonprofit work is great for the soul, and it often is. But they don't tell you about the long hours, the how you're going to get funding, the uncertainty of can you keep doing what you're going to do, and so to have sustained it now for into your fourth year, that's just a great testament to the work that you're doing, how important it is to do. Um,
Thank you.
but
Yeah.
well deserved. Talk about some of those challenges though. So, I mean, before we came on the call, talk about your next challenge coming up. But before you get to where you
Yeah.
are currently, what has that journey been like running the nonprofit? What have been the highs and the lows to get you to where you
Yeah.
are today?
On a personal side, quite honestly, is just coming to grips with the fact of being a kept man. That's been a big one for me personally.
Hmm.
It's like the prospects of being a 50-year-old cabana boy sure are awesome when you're thinking about it, but maybe, you know, trophy husband is a title I don't think I can live up to. So, so that is on the personal side, is just, accepting that it's a very, very much of a culture shock for me to be in this position. So putting that kind of full trust, and I just know how grateful I am every day to have the wife that I have, that never brings that up. And she makes sure we stay on a budget. She is amazing with a spreadsheet. I'll give her that. And so I pay attention to the boss and what she says with the budget, and that's what we stick with. But that's probably personal. Now, on the business side of things, I would say this to folks considering and looking at it. First and foremost, and this is something that I really thought about this for the longest time, transparency, especially in the veteran support spaces. Transparency, I think, is paramount. The situation, that unfolded 15 years ago with Wounded Warrior and that whole thing, when they started looking at books and what people this, there's a lot of, clouded stuff around that as far as what CEOs should be getting paid and all this kind of thing. And it
Mm,
affected everybody. And as usual, to a fault, right? They went too far with it, going,
hmm.
you shouldn't
Sure.
be making anything doing this. And it's like, yeah, that's a great call, man. That 90-10, right? 90 cents out of a dollar goes to programs, 10% to admin. And my response to you is, I promise you, do that and you'll get some applause for like 2-3 years, because that's about as long as you're going to be around. You cannot run a small business that way. My objective from day one has always been to create an organization that lives beyond me, that isn't dependent on me. I believe in this mission so much as I want it to carry beyond me. So we have to build something that can sustain, right? And so that's been a major challenge. That transparency just means you need to be okay with that. People will call things into question, and you need to be ready to handle that without defensive mechanisms, right? Firing off. We've had a couple people ask that. And so, with us in the very beginning of things, and I have, inside, I may be like, well, you son of a, type thing, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
outside, I'm like, fair enough. Yeah. And so I've invited anybody that, hey, here's our filings with the IRS. Anytime you'd like to sit down and cry with me over our books, I'll be glad to bring the beer, and we can shed tears together, and you can ask how in the hell I'm able to do this. For the first couple of years, it was my family standing it up, right? And then last year, we were able to bring in enough donations that we were able to pay for ourselves without my family needing to put money in. We
Amazing.
raised, yeah, we raised just north of $15,000 for the year, and that covered the work that we did. And our, somewhat, we still have a credit card balance sitting here at the end of the year, but we were able to, at least cover it, and my family didn't have to put it up, this time. So
Hmm.
that's a great thing. We're pretty proud of that. But those things, you need to be able to have, be straight in your head about what the mission is and what you're doing. That integrity and honor is critical. And I know we're not curing anything here, We're not making any claims that we're curing anything, but I also know that the work we're doing is vital and it's important to people. We've had responses that range from, hey man, that was fun, all the way to the other side of, brother, you may have just saved my life. And so getting that kind of wide range of response tells me we're doing something right now. Let's keep working. Let's just keep digging and trying to reach more and more people. I really like one of our consultants we brought on recently here got us on this year with do less better. And we're going to try to avoid that mission creep, stay focused on what we're doing and just really master it, for right now. And
Mhm.
then we'll manage our growth as we move forward. But that would be, those things. Obviously there's the normal stuff, schedule. I never turn this off. We were in Spain. My wife loves to travel. And so I say where, I carry suitcases and away we go. We got a chance to go to the south shore of Spain there. And immediately all my stupid head is doing while we're there is like, man, imagine some kayak fishing over here. Well, I
Yeah.
wonder who we could connect in with over here. And I'm like, dude, turn it off, just be here. But she's a great sport. She puts up with me in my head when I start doing that stuff.
That also just shows, like, how much you care about the work that you're doing, right? To be able to see it and imagine it in other places. And I worked in just outside Barcelona on the shore for a couple of years,
Oh,
way back when, 20 years ago now. And yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful part of the world. So do
yeah.
it. People will come.
There's a lot about southern Spain that reminds me a lot of Colorado too, because it's very deserty, until
Mhm.
you get to the coast. Obviously, the
Mhm.
coast is we don't have an ocean here. You gotta go past a few casinos and some working girls to get to the ocean from here, in between us
Probably
and
have to do
there.
that in some parts of Spain as well, in fairness. But anyway.
Exactly.
Amazing. And so, is it just the kayak fishing you do now, or have you expanded to anything else? Like,
Yeah.
what talk us through what a typical trip looks like with you guys?
Yeah, so we have 3 levels, that we've designated these trips out in, and this has been in the works, proving concept, right, for 3 years, to make sure sticking with what we know, what we do well with the resources that we currently have. We do have a vision of where we'd like to be and what we'd like to provide, but for right now, we have 3 levels of trips that we do, and yes, it's kayak fishing and camping. That's specifically what we do. Fishing, we know. Outdoors, we know. Kayak fishing itself offers its own unique experience when you take people out. With us, also, we have the benefit of being with a phenomenal kayak company called New Canoe, American made, veteran owned, and it's just a fishing platform, man. It is just an awesome, awesome boat. We have a fleet of those that we take people out in. They're all motorized. You can paddle if you want. I'll turn the motor off for you, but because people that come out with us, we like to really dig down into it, right? We immerse them in the challenge of the hunt for the fish. This isn't a sit with a bobber, and wait for the bobber to sink, right? That's not the
Mhm.
kind of fishing we do. We're very active. We're presenting baits and we're chasing these fish, looking for them around this body of water wherever we can find them. So the 3 levels we have, tier 1 is a half day maneuver. We take them to a local lake. We have an agreement worked out with the city of Westminster here. It's another suburb of Denver with a lake they have, or we'll go anywhere within, hour and a half of the metro. And we take them for basically half a day of fishing. And this is our gateway drug. We're checking to see how they really enjoy this. When we're done with that, at the end of that day, we take them out to lunch and we sit there and kind of do a little debrief together. If we're doing our job right, they don't even have really much of a clue as to what therapeutic impact was taking place at that event, because that's really what we're trying to do is just, hey man, we're going fishing. We're saying thank you. And that's what I try not to use the T word too often, especially around
Mhm.
firefighters and police officers, because there is still some trust barriers when it comes to that. So yeah, we just like,
Mhm.
no, this is our way of saying thanks. And so yeah, that's our tier 1 event. And we do the most of those. We'll do anywhere between probably 15 and 20 of those a season. A season's May to September for us. That's what time we're allowed on the water before bad seasons start coming in, or they kick us off the water here in Colorado. It's crazy. But at any rate, the tier 2 level events, now those will be anywhere from 2.5 to 6 hour drive away. And that's more of a regional thing. That's basically a long weekend is what we take them out for. This is where the camping comes in. And be honest with you, in my opinion, this is where the real healing starts to take place. Sitting around a campfire, trading stories and getting people of like minds and like life experiences to get sharing
Mm.
like that. Man, plus, this is where usually in those events, especially with combat vets, if I can get a combat vet to insult me or crack on me or something out on the water, I know I'm in. It's like, there
Yep.
we go. Now
Yep.
I've got it. It's like now we can start, slinging it back and forth. And now we're getting some real good, trust and bond, growing there at that point. Those type of events, we really look forward to those. Right now, we're kind of stuck with, we go to like different parks that have cabins for rent
Mhm.
just because that offers the best scenario for us with the numbers and the equipment that we have. The tier 3 events, we're looking at doing 2 to 3 of these a year, usually like bookmark deals. These are going to be 5-day events, and these could be 10, a 12-hour drive away. So basically drive for an entire day, spend 3 days on scene, drive home. These are big events. These are going to be for experienced folks that have come out with us a few times. And, obviously all on these trips, we vet the personnel who's coming with to make sure it's a good match, and try to put the whole thing together. But that's really, the basis of the programs and the type of trips we're providing right now at no cost.
I mean, that's amazing. I told this to I mean, we met through a platform, the Tip of the Spear, and I remember telling those colleagues on that radio show that I've never been fishing. I've still never been fishing. I've been hunting. I've I've skinned rabbits, I've shot pheasants, all sorts of things. I've still never made it to fishing. So for people who have never done fishing, why do you find fishing so effective as this tool? What is it that helps you to facilitate this all, do
You
you
know, and,
think?
and Yeah, I can give you my opinion to it. I mean,
Mhm.
obviously, I've got a lot of degrees, not one of them in this space, but I've done a lot of reading, and I do believe that I've spoken to people that are far smarter than me in the mental health space and recreational therapy space. I've literally had a pair of rec therapists audit my day trips to give me better input, as to,
Mhm.
hey, maybe try doing this as opposed to this, and this is something really good. Keep that in, incorporate this to kind of help me structure the days as we go out for our curriculum. But nevertheless, view on number one, the very first thing is the reconnection to the outdoors. Regardless of where your belief structure lies, we are of this earth. And the more convenience and the more technology comes out, the more it pulls us away from it.
Mm.
So taking some time to disconnect and reconnect to Mother Earth and get back to nature, I think is so very critical. And we have studies to back it up. The physiological positive impact that it has on our brains, on our bodies when we get out in, back in nature, from sunlight to just, being around waterfalls. And, some believe that's, positive energy. It's chi, some believe this, it doesn't matter to me. All I know is it works and it helps. So I think that's the first thing. Now, fishing specifically for folks that we work with, a lot of times we're working with folks that, are working through some things. They're looking to just find some recharge, right? Self maintenance. Fishing creates a hyper focus that silences some things around you on the outside, and it forces you to pay attention to what's going on, right in front of you, be it a knot, be it a bait, be it the fish that you're trying to trick and you're
Mhm.
trying to hunt. Now, couple that with kayak fishing requires that 50% of that time you need to be focused on your craft, else you're going to be joining Davy Jones' locker, and taking a dump into the drink. So you have to balance this out. And quite frankly, it leaves no room for outside voices and outside
Mhm.
stressors. Because if I do my job right, I'm going to have you so hell bent on trying to beat me for that day, and to take home, the pride trophy that or beat your friend or whoever you brought with you on the trip. And just doing something new like that, a lot of times, to me, I love that the most, is when somebody hasn't been and is coming out. It usually takes 3, 4, 5 fish for me to get some of the folks that are experienced anglers
Mhm.
that have it convinced they know, what's going on. Takes 3, 4, 5 fish, and then they're usually like, "Oh, well, what bait are you using?" It's like, yeah, come on over here. Let me show you just a couple things that
Uh,
I've learned, because I got my butt handed to me for the first few years in this state, because it's varied. It's a different kind of fishing out here. And
mm.
so I Lord knows I, gave away enough money in tournaments, this and that, and got my butt handed to me. I had to learn to, to figure it out. But so yeah, that's really, I think, the fact that you get a reconnection. It's an intimate experience being on the water in a kayak where you can just reach off the side, literally touch the water, and you're in their element, man. And the wind, slightest change in wind, and your kayak starts to move on you. It's like, hey, what the heck? What's going on there? Now, obviously, we have technology working for us with electric trolling motors and such, so that helps us, but you absolutely do experience it for sure.
I love that, and what you talked about, you're combining all the senses so that you have this
Yeah.
full holistic, but it's mindfulness as well. It's being in the moment, it's thinking about what you're doing. And I remember, I'm not very arty at all. I'm a very practical person. But years ago, I took a sewing class for the first time using a sewing machine. Just because I've never done it. I was
Nice.
like, I want to know how to do it. But I tell you what, that was the first time in years my brain switched off, just listening to the click, 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 click of the sewing machine.
Love
It's
it.
but I mean, I'm still terrible, just for the record. I just don't have an artistic brain in my body. Um, needle and thread is about as best you'll get from me. But there is something to be said when you are detaching from technology, whether it be a sewing machine or
Yeah.
being outside. And you're right about being outside as well. Like being outdoors, and I live in a forest.
Mm,
It is so grounding anyway. But to then be using all your senses to where is the fish, what's the boat doing, what are
yep.
the smells, the sights, the what am I hearing? It
Yep.
is a complete reset, and I think people underestimate the positive effect even just doing that for half a day, like you say, can have on an
Yeah.
individual who hasn't had that quietness in their mind for a long time.
And that's the thing, is that I also do work with Heroes on the Water. I'm a therapeutic coordinator for them, and we work with the outpatient services through the Denver VA. We provide bigger scale, like 8 to 10 people at a time come with a rec therapist from the VA, and we do work, where we take them, paddlefish heal with Heroes on the Water. They're a fantastic organization. With the TPO, my stuff, the most I'll ever take out with one person, my span of control is about 3 people, right? Otherwise, it's with motors and such, it's like herding cats. Not a, not something you want to try. But more importantly to me is I don't feel like I can give personal attention to much more than that. And
Hmm.
that is so critical to me, is to make sure that we have that one-on-one connection where I really get to know what they're dealing with, because most of the folks that I'm taking out, they're in a good space, right? I mean, they're okay. They're not in a dark, realm. What they are is they're in a grind. They're working nine
Mm.
to five. They've got, a husband at home, or they got a wife at home, and they got kids at home, and they're working, their job. And that's pretty much what they do. They grind Monday through Friday, do some work on the house on the weekend, and they go back and they grind Monday through Friday. This trips like this, what we can offer them is a chance to just self maintenance. This is for you now. This is a recharge, so you can go back to your family more positive, stronger than you were before. You can go back to
Mm.
work with a renewed sense now. And now you also find yourself going, all I got to do is get to Friday, and then I'm on the kayak. Then I'm going, that's a huge motivator for some
Yeah.
folks. And I'm proud to say we have 3 folks that we took out last year, 3 vets that now are new canoe owners. They bought kayaks after
Uh,
last year, after coming out with us. They got it so bad that they went and got their own. And now they're looking forward to coming out with us with their gear, next year. And I said, hey, anytime, I'm always looking for an excuse to go fishing. So let's go get it.
oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, as you said at the start, people don't pay for this either. So
Nope.
how do people get a place on your trips? Is there a
Yeah.
referral system? Is there just a self-referral system?
Yeah, for right now, it's just basically contact us, hit us up. We're putting together, so we got some ideas that we're working on. I'll kind of unveil some of the stuff we're looking at producing and getting produced for us, an app that folks can literally have with some resources on the app, but also with a scheduler right there. They can look a month in advance and see, all of our scheduled trips that we have in front of us. To be honest with you, if someone wants to go fishing, we never say no. If they're a vet, first responder, active, family member, any in that ballpark, then yes, the answer is yes. It's just a matter of let's figure out the time.
Mhm.
Um, I did. We had 42 engagements last year. 36 of those were on the water. And again, the thing we're so proud of is that that's from May to September 30th, right? Because that's our 5-month window we're given. So, of those 42, there were like 6 of those were like promotional things where I was going and shaking babies, kissing hands, at, at chamber events, setting up a table, doing that sort of thing and promoting. But 36 of them were on the water. We did through the TPO, 26 of those were our field ops events. The other 10 were Heroes on the Water events. So we stayed busy, and
Hmm.
kept moving. So yeah, if somebody wants to go, we're going. We got the gear, we've got the location. It's just a matter of working out a schedule. But we're going to try to set things up to say, here's what we have on the schedule. If you don't see something, throw me an email, and
Hmm.
just let's work it out. We'll still, I don't want to lose that ability, but I also want to try to provide a little bit more structure. And
Hmm.
so we're thinking, I don't know, maybe this is just a link on a website, but I was thinking, in today's world, an app sure, would be slick. In that case, so we'll see what comes out of that. I've got smart people I'm starting to surround myself with.
Not just your wife.
Exactly, exactly. She's got enough on her plate with the work she does. I don't bring her into this other than occasionally she still wants to volunteer and come out for some of these events. So
Ah,
she comes and helps when she's able. But
wonderful. And so went to year 4. So what is your vision for this? I said you want to leave a legacy beyond
yeah,
you, but what does that roadmap look for you like at the moment?
it's a great question. Sustainable organization. I want an organization that can afford to pay a modest salary to one person. That one person, the ideal candidate in my head would be somebody that's, say, retired from a department or, from a city municipality of some kind, retired from the military, or somebody with 100% designation through the VA. Take that income coupled with what this organization should be capable of, standing up for a salary out here. And that becomes a model that, yeah, we could actually cookie cutter that around the nation and create,
Hmm.
additional locations. But let's get it done here first. If
Hmm.
we can do it in Colorado, we'll easily do this across the Midwest because it's expensive as hell out here.
Oh, right.
So yeah, just cost of living. So that's the first piece is create an organization that's bringing in enough funding that it can pay for its programs and support one executive director to run the show and keep things moving along with a series obviously of volunteers. The piece that where I'd like to see our model move to, there's a model of veteran support in the outdoor space that has been proven time and time again how powerful it is and how well it works. And that is the retreats.
Hmm.
There's a place in Iowa, there's a place in Alabama, there's a place in California, wherever that people get flown into, they spend a week and they come home. And while they're there, there's a lot of good things taking place there and helping people, reconnect, recharge, get some new tools to deal with some stuff. The retreat model, we know the impact that has and how well, when done right, how well it works. What I would like to do is create a situation where we don't have one place. We create a mobile retreat where we can take the retreat to their community and create it there. What that will require is a 1-ton pickup. I don't care what brand. I mean, I'm personally a Chevy guy, but quite frankly, those Fords look pretty impressive too. And if somebody's willing to throw that at us, I'll take Joe's, truck. I don't care. It doesn't matter. But a 1-ton truck that is hauling a toy hauler behind it. The toy hauler will have the ability to bunk 4 people
Hmm.
and it will have the ability to haul the kayaks on scene where we need them to. We've already come up with a good scheme of how to build a rack system in the back of the pickup so that the kayaks can go in the back of the truck when we're on scene. That way you deploy your toy hauler there, the RV, it sets up in place. And now we can take this anywhere to any community around where the need might be, where we don't have near the cost that's associated with the property tax and the
Hmm.
creation of staffing and this and that. No, this is literally one person could take this around
Oh,
and
wow.
connect with 3 to 4 people at a time. Just creating, there's something to be said, something pretty special when you're sitting around burning up some meat around a campfire, and sharing stories. That is
Yeah.
a huge, huge piece. We want to be able to create that anywhere we want to go. So we're working with that is like that's where we want to see this, the Colorado branch see it get to, because our
Hmm.
reach is the entire Midwest of the US. I don't mind driving 10, 12 hours, man. I can get all the way to, the other side of Missouri, almost Illinois, in 12 hours. So we can stretch out pretty far from there.
That's amazing. Such an exciting vision to have. So between May and September, you run your events. What happens
Yeah.
in the other months?
So our fundraising months, the real big months, November, December. That's fundraising. If I'm doing my job right, this is where I need to be out there with the Santa hat on and jingle bells and talking to folks about how their support, how they can see it right here in their local community. That's who we are. We're that local area where they can really see an impact. Then it's administrative time. It's a lot of planning. These trips take a lot of coordination, and a lot of
Mhm.
collaboration that take time and energy. Putting these programs together, so that January or February turn into a lot of administrative time with that. On top of, it's also a time for shows. And so we try to be real picky about where we go. We had kind of a change in our head. We used to go to fishing shows and talk to them about supporting veterans.
Mhm.
And I had a very smart individual say, that's your problem. You need to be going to veteran spaces talking about how fishing can help. And I'm like, son of a beeswax, look at that. I didn't even think of that, whole thing. Cause my world was the fishing world, right? I mean,
Yeah.
and I wanted to use that, all the stage and, press that came with that. I wanted to shed light on what this work can do for folks. And so it's one of the reasons that led me to the Heroes Media Group. I was with another network that was fishing first. We were the oddball because we talked about, supporting our nation's warfighting families and this and that. Also, I talked fishing, in there. And I knew that we wanted to change that focus. And so the conversation started with Adam, and that was why we moved over to the Heroes Media Group. So now we're in that space. And yeah, we're the show that talks fishing, and we'll talk, sometimes with tackle, retailers and things like this of the boat manufacturers or whatever. We dig down into the nuts and bolts of it, from there. But that's really what we try to do in January, February, sometimes March also, is get involved in the right shows where we can go set up a booth and talk to folks about, spreading the word about what we're doing. If I'm doing right, October through December is really big, big, big funding. January through March is let's get butts and put them in kayaks, right? Get it set up. I want butts in seats, covered in kayaks. That's what we're looking for. And then in between those those times, that's when we're mission, out on task and rolling at that point.
Amazing. And again, like it's just testament to your passion, but also evidence of how difficult this is. People will go, well, you're only doing trips for 5 months a year. Yeah, but I've got to spend the other 7 months sorting it all out, funding it, and making sure to turn up.
Yeah.
So how can people support you if they
Good.
want to?
Volunteers a huge way. Information, collaborations, like this, Pippa, what you're doing here, giving us a stage like this is so huge. It gets us a chance to share the mission, share who we are. Like my wife said, I fought for the first couple of years where people are like, yeah, I want to support you. My response would always be, don't support me, support the mission.
Mhm.
Right. I'm just the knucklehead tying knots behind here, hauling kayaks. That's what I'm doing here. I'm the one, driving this thing, but support the mission. That's what I want you to get behind and really believe in. And our biggest supporter from last year said, her response to me was, I do believe in the mission, but I'll tell you what, the reason I'm giving you this kind of check is because I believe in you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay. Old dog, new tricks. I need to. And so you giving us an opportunity to share who we are with people, that's a big, big deal. Volunteering in the area. And just to be clear too, is our tier 1 events are the ones that we do at Stanley Lake between May and September. We'll go if it's not too cold. I don't like taking new folks into cold water situations. That's just dangerous. So
Mhm.
we'll go in April and October, but that's usually some of the more experienced folks that have been on kayaks before. But yeah, for the big windows, May through September there for sure. But of course, I would never turn away funding. Obviously, donation in kind. Hey man, someone's got a kayak trailer that helped me hold 4 kayaks and out there that I can tow with a 1/2-ton pickup. Yes, please, because I got an old bass buggy that I run around out there. It's a 2015 Chevy Silverado. I sleep in that thing. It's my mobile office. Yeah, you name it. It gets the job done. But those are the we're pretty simple in our approach. We don't need a lot. We just need, the right pieces to the puzzle, and we're going to do some pretty awesome stuff this year if we can get those in place.
I'm sure you will. We'll make sure you will find a way of doing it. I think your sponsor is right though. I mean, missions are super important, but the person driving the mission is what gives you the trust because you can't connect with words necessarily. You can connect with a
Mhm.
person. And I would say never underestimate the power that you have of pulling people in around you because you're wonderful.
Well, I appreciate that. I probably don't have the proper words to express how much I appreciate that, but I spent the early part of my career as a young man in my 20s and 30s chasing the dollar, right? I grew up very poor, single mom, trailer park kid, and the way I'm living right now, I didn't even have rich friends that lived as well as what I live right now, right? As a kid. And so I thought for sure that was the key to life, right? I need money. And so
Mm.
I chased it, chased it, chased it. And in that process, it was always about self help. What do I need to do to be more successful? Stephen Covey, brilliant man, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I read that book 6 ways to Sunday. And as I got older, I started realizing for me, it was like, there, it isn't about me, dude. It's about what can I do to serve others better? What impact can I leave on them? Because it's a harsh reality when you come to breakfast and you're like, I got less in front of me than I do behind me, Jack. Man, I don't want to say there's a clock ticking, but I sure as hell don't waste a day anymore. I'm
Mm.
thankful for where I'm at. I trust in that good book, learning the lessons that are in that book. I'm not a word for word, type of person, but there's lessons there. And yeah, so I trust in that there's a pathway out there that I got to work my tail off to get to. And yeah, we just hope that this work and that it continues to have impact. That's the main piece.
Absolutely, I'm sure they will. If people want to find you, how can they
Mhm.
find you?
TruePatriotOutfitters.org. We recently made kind of a big deal. We pulled the TPO off of Facebook and Instagram. To be honest with you, it didn't do anything for us. It just really didn't. And it was a time suck. Um,
Mhm.
I was looking at my schedule as we were going forward. And I just saw create content, edit content, schedule content. I'm like, for what? It's brought in no funding. It's not put a single butt in a kayak. It's just so that we can say we have a presence out there. I'm like, meh. So yeah, I pulled my nonprofit off of those, but we have email, which is G Campbell at, TruePatriotOutfitters.org. Of course, our website, TruePatriotOutfitters.org. I'm on Facebook still. I'll keep me on there because I still talk to friends and family and post pictures of my cat and different things along that line.
These are important
Follow,
pictures.
yes, and I follow Pippa's adventures online as well because you do live in a magical forest, and I love the vacation trips you share. Those are awesome. So yeah, I I keep that going, but other than that, yeah, we're email, our phone, our contact information's all out at the website, and I highly encourage you get. They got questions, they want to know, know how to get a hold of us or do their own thing, and yeah, hit me up, man. One mission.
Amazing, thank you. I'll put it all in the show notes, but I'll say to anybody listening or watching, Gene doesn't need a lot to make a big difference. So if you have anything to spare, I would definitely consider reaching out to Gene and making a donation of whatever you can. It all adds up.
Thank you, Pippa, so very much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your mission. Thank you for your work. And I will look forward to chatting to you again before too long, I'm sure.
Alrighty.